said we'd argue today. You should have listened.
Robert Phoenix warned me about dating a Leo fan. Leo King and Robert Phoenix at the Bridge Expo together? My astrology app just crashed from excitement. You guys, Leo King and Robert Phoenix at the Bridge Expo together? My astrology app just crashed from excitement.
Well, that's a fun little diversion, isn't it? A couple of videos there, little shorts that David made, and they are promoting our appearance together in October at the Bridge Expo on the weekend of the 15th through the 17th. And I have actually, I've actually put a link in the description of the show for people to sign up. It is an early sign up period. So you get a discount for signing up early. And this is quite early, obviously. But let me show you the actual link itself, just so you can see what we're talking about here. And probably going to have to do the old 1-2 with StreamYard. Yes, let's stop share that. And one more time. Once more, the feeling. And here we go. So this is the bridge to higher dimensions. And this is the pre-sale, and the link is in the description of the show. And you get a significant discount. That's $200 if you sign up now. And this is for the event. It is also taking place at a hotel. And it's like a brand new hotel. And there's your dates right there. So we got David, Masadi, Bill Homan, and the Mitchell Hedges Skull, Crystal Skull, me, Robert Phoenix, Dr. Sandra Moon, Shanna Eva, John Charles Moyen, Barbara Hudak, Ryan DeRoon, and Tone Millard. So this is a new hotel, and it's what is it? It's the renowned Hyatt Regency in Frisco. Okay, so it's in Frisco, which is near Dallas, and it's got rooftop views. I guess it's a pretty cool hotel. I haven't been there, but I'm going to be in McKinney in a couple weeks, so I think I'm going to maybe cruise by, check this hotel out. And this is what the event is. So you got your check-in 5 to 7 p.m. You got a mixer. And then Saturday, we have panels and all the stuff that goes along with an event like this. And then there's dinner, like there's meals and stuff. Like you like this is included, right? All this meals, they're included in your sign up. And then at 9 p.m. on Saturday night, there's going to be a galactic ball dance party, and of course, David is going to DJ. If you haven't seen David DJ, it's pretty fucking good. And then we're closing out, right? He and I are closing out at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. So that's when we'll do our presentation together. And there you go. So they've got a VIP package as well, which is early bird check-in, preferred seating. I guess you get a Crystal Skull group session with Bill Homan. A group healing with Masati, and then you got to be over 12, and most of you are. So there you go. That's the event, and I urge you, if you're going to sign up, to do it through the link that I've provided inside of the description for the show. Okay, so there you go. The event is on. And your ability to get in and get that discount is happening right now. So there you go. All right, let's just do a quick check-in with Chataria. Let's see who's here, what's happening. Let's see. We got Michael. I love the new next. This is really funny. Look at those two alpha males living in peace and perfect balance. Must have just enjoyed a delicious gazelle together. That is pretty funny shit. Sue Leonard asked the question, anyone following the Aubrey Marcus polyamory interview and reactions? Very Saturn and Aries. I've not. You know, Aubrey Marcus is one of these life extension people. We ran into a polypod at Costco a couple weeks ago. You could tell it was a polypod. You want to know how? Okay, here's how you can tell it's a polypod. There's a woman, and she's with at least 3 or 4 guys. Okay. The woman is marginally attractive, not like great attractive, but also not like, try harder or something like that, like marginally attractive. And the dudes have a vibe about them. They're also not real super attractive. And they have kind of a femme, like there's kind of a femme vibe to the dudes. And it's like they're almost all, adding up, for the power of like one, right? And they're all shopping together. So it was interesting. Like you can tell a polypod. It's always around one. It's not around like one dude and usually 3 or 4 women. It's the reverse. And they're all, they're all out on a Saturday shopping at Costco, to get supplies for their polypod. Anyway, let's see. Sigurd's in the house. California Contrarian being a quadruple 12th house Leo. I'm feeling this sweet thumbnail. Nice. Barbara Boots tells us that lions sleep 18 hours a day. Well, if my cats are any indication, I can attest to that's true. Ms. Behavin' 2 is here. Jackie DeLoria. The Bisou dropping a like and a hello. Yes, drop that like in there. Josie's Jazzy Junk. Triple J. My son's a triple 3rd house Leo. There you go. David Icke has a lion fetish. He always mentions his paw background. David Icke. Apparently David Icke is not well physically. Mary Grether. What's going on, Mary? Down under. Healing Heart Rosie's here. Moira in NYC. The lovely and talented one. Saving Austin one tooth at a time. Sharon Lewis. Hi, Sharon. Just listen to Aubrey. Brilliant. Look at that. You guys are on the same wavelength. Zerlith Eternal. Janine is here. Hi, Janine. Artists here. Glad to be here. We're glad you're here too. Tom Jordan's in the house. Stephanie Hunter. Diane Evans. Hi, Diane. Let's see. Noelle Way is here. Hi, Noelle. Yes, Tom. Thank you. Hit that like and subscribe. Hey, we got another 100 people. I got 100 new followers. Woohoo! Cheers to you 100 new people. Thanks for signing up, being a part of the show. Maya Rose, Cecilia, and Aphrodite. Yes, you did make it. Darlene's here. Hi, Darlene. Good to see you. Amy Gill. Tracy, yeah, finally made it for the live. Wonderful day back at you. Lisa Ann White. 1 more hour and I'm off this train. All right, Lisa. Enjoy the rest of your day. There she is. Interstellar Cosmic Communications with Patricia. Just being her. Good to see you. Kristen Foose. Green Eyed Crow. Ojos Azules. Let's see. Today is Mom's 100th birthday. Wow. Liddy Lou. Happy birthday to Mom. That is something else. 100. She got the genes. Centenarian. She's a rare company. A lot of people make it to 100. There's our guy, Thor at the door, the mayor. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Oh, yes. That's the thank you, Tom, for putting that link in there. If you sign up for that link, you sign for the event through the link, it does help your guy. Just saying. Salty Cow. That's right. Like and subscribe. Good to see you, Salty. Let's see. Nyla. Hi, Nyla. Big Dave Sullivan's here. Hi, Dave. Queen Lisa in the house. Good to see Queen Lisa. It's my first trip to Denver, Charlottesville, Virginia, and back. There are lots of first-timers writing. Oh, boy. Catherine Rosen, our official reflector. She's here. Only polys I've seen in the UK are absolute munters. Our plankton is worse than yours. Poly people have a look. I think they need more sunshine too, by the way. Let's see. Harry Bowie, hey, hypergamy disguised as polyamory. That's an interesting take, Salty. It's like that's interesting. It's kind of like, yeah. Instead of just trading up for one, you're trading up for three. Kind of a power move in some ways. Gaia Dance, what's going on, Gaia? Good to see you. Down in NZ. Hammer time. Maria D'Ange. Neil Smith this year. Hey, Neil, what's going on? Our guy in Wisconsin. The man from Cheese. The man from Cheese. I'm not Polly. Thought she meant a different Aubrey. Oh. Can there be more than one Aubrey, Marcus? Maybe. All right, let's get to the weather. Oh, hold on. We got a report on the ground. Boots on the ground. Well, Saturn area sure kicked out with a few bangs. So many breaking news about armed standoffs, the lady in the van, etc. Get ready for spiritual warriors. Yeah. It's going to get hot. I didn't know what poly meant, so was staying quiet. Can you imagine? Because Janice has something to say about everything. But Polyworld stumped her. Well, I bet they would spend all their time indoors. Libido Dominandi explains the polys. Yep. Aubrey's my oldest daughter's name. Thanks, Brad. Okay. Well, let's get into the weather, shall we? This is why you're here. This is why ostensibly you're watching the show. So let's do it. Oh, Nightlight, you had to de-escalate a fight that broke out in public yesterday. Wow, that's a really interesting course of action to take, to de-escalate a fight that takes place in public. Like, I'd like to know how that happens or how that looks, because that can be really dangerous. Like if you're an educator or teacher and you have a fight on the playground or school grounds or whatever, like I can see that. So I'm curious. Night Sight, if you have any details about, just briefly about the fight that broke out in public, I'd be very curious as to the details around that, because when you get involved in a public situation where people are thrown down, it can get pretty hairy, actually. Let's see. Here you go. For astrology readings, yes, I'm your guy. I am your guy. Look at this. Liddy Lou. I don't even know what poly is. Oh, hang around. Hang around long enough and you will explore the avenues of the taboo through these various channels. Polypod is polyamory, where you have more than two people agreeing to be in a relationship with one another. And, I can actually see this becoming more and more prevalent with Pluto and Aquarius. Bringing it back to astrology talk, I could totally see like polypods becoming very Pluto and Aquarius. It's kind of like a group marriage, really, or a group agreement with multiple people. And again, it's almost always like one woman and like three dudes, and they're all very mediocre, like in appearance. It's almost like they're pooling their mediocrity together to like have sort of the group Wu-Tang effect, right? I mean, that's what it feels like. If Jane Roberts, a long time ago, when Jane Roberts was doing the Seth thing, Seth talked about marriages and relationships. And what Seth said is that most marriages and relationships are comprised of two people who are not whole, and they're filling the gap of the other, right? Like that was, and over time, I think we've come to understand that about certain marriages, not all marriages, but certain marriages. Well, polyamory is like that on steroids, right? So if you had back in the day two people who were fragmented, and by marrying, they became kind of more like one semi-individuated whole. If we follow this idea that as we go down the timeline, that we become a degraded copy of what happened before us, then it would take more people to do that. That would be the idea of the polypod, is that it would take four people to comprise sort of one person. But I do think it's going to be much more popular with Pluto and Aquarius, and also Uranus and Gemini coming into the mix, and sextiling Pluto, and then Uranus and Gemini. It's like, the other, and then the other, and then the other. So I think polyamory in group marriages or group relationships are going to be something you're going to hear more about. It's kind of I don't know. I don't really have any judgment on it, but it feels to me like we're going to head into like one of two, like two distinct areas, right? Like, and this, to me, this is Uranus and Gemini. You're going to have one sort of vector of very traditional and conservative people and marriages, and some of them, I think a lot of them, will be wedded to Christianity. And like if you look at somebody like Candace Owens, whatever you think of Candace Owens is sort of a trendsetter in a lot of ways, right? And she's a trendsetter for women, and she has a very high female audience. And so when women look at Candace Owens, what are they seeing? They're seeing a woman who's married in a quote unquote traditional relationship, and she's having multiple kids. I think she's on kid number 3 now. And don't think that Candace Owens isn't getting into the hearts and minds of certain women. She is an influencer. So that's just one sort of sample size of an individual who is promoting a very traditional heterosexual marriage that bears children and is connected to a religion. In Candace's case, of course, is Catholicism. So I feel like there's going to be that and variations of that. But on the other side of it, you're going to have this, kind of very odd compendium of unusual relationships and like group marriages and polypods. And it's because of Uranus and Gemini. You're going to get two at least two variations of the thing, right? Like you'll get the straight version, and then you're going to get the really kind of weird, like more socially acceptable version of like a group marriage, or as we kind of tabbed it earlier on, the polypod. Candace married a very wealthy man. Oh, yes, she did. Very, very wealthy man. And what's really interesting is that Candace's father-in-law does a lot of trading. Like a lot of trading. Like he is a big money guy. Like one of the brokerage houses in England or whatever. Like that's what he does. So he has to do business with a lot of Jews, right? Like they're just in that world, whether it's the Rothschilds or the Goldsmiths or whoever. And of course, Candace Owens has been very vocal about a particular group. So she has not made life easy for her father-in-law, which I've been reading about. And he has had to literally publicly distance himself from her comments. Like he's got to do the mea culpa, the mea culpa, the mea culpa, right? So it's interesting that he's like, son, why did you have to marry that Jezebel? Why couldn't you have just married into a Jewish family? It would have been a lot easier for us. But that wasn't going to happen. Let's see. I like some things about Candace, and I don't like some. She's bright. She's all right. Just wish she wasn't so angry and gossipy. That's her thing. It is like Candace Owens has carved out a niche. And there's this, it's like something I've been talking about lately, and it dovetails really with Gemini season, and then Uranus and Gemini, and I would call it something along the lines of like truth gossip, because Candace is in that truth gossip camp. Like when she talks about Blake Lively or Meghan Markle, and trying to kind of blow it up and make it a bigger culture issue. Like that's truth gossip. And then Maureen Calloway, who I really like with the nerve, is kind of doing the same thing. And I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that with Uranus and Gemini. It's going to be really, really gossipy, but it's going to hit the public in a way that like truthers, hardcore truthers will not hit, because these women are women and their audiences potentially are really, really big. And what they're doing, and particularly Maureen Calloway, is that they're pulling the curtain back on the facade of Hollywood and the facade of their bizarre lifestyles, right? And I really feel like that they're serving a purpose, because Maureen Calloway gets in and she completely mocks Hilaria Baldwin and her book, and she's got her sights fixated on these people that have moved into the self-help world, and they're all fucking ridiculous, and they're almost all women, and she just goes after them like a shark. So I think it's interesting that you have Candace, and I don't think that they're done. Like Megyn Kelly is sort of moving in that direction and territory. So it's like this new genre of truth gossip. And I think it's going to be like wildly effective. If I were a woman and I had skills, meaning broadcast skills and be able to connect some dots, that is the area that I would go in. Like getting on the ground floor now. And this truth gossip thing, I think, is going to be really, really big with Uranus and Gemini. And the idea is that it tears down these structures that a lot of people can see right through, and they know it's fake, and they know it's false, and they know that they got, worked on, with their faces, or, they're promoting like bullshit lifestyles. And these people are calling them out. And it's sort of like the last death knell of like Hollywood culture. So, I mean, I think Candace plays a role in that for sure. And every now and then she lifts her head above that fray and takes on a much bigger, much bigger topic. But it's definitely a genre, and it's going to grow. All right, let's get into the weather, shall we? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see, where the hell is it? Do I have it here? Do I have it here? Do I have it here? Yes, I do. There it is. Okay, so I have been asked to make the images bigger, and I'm going to try to do that because, well, there it is right there. And I'm going to try to make it bigger on the screen as well. Let me just go ahead and find this. So we're going to zoom in. Okay, there we go. All right, how about a little bit more? You want bigger? You want bigger? I can go bigger. Here we go. Let's go. Here we go. Zoom in. All right, there it is. Wow, look how big that is. All right. The moon is still in Gemini, but what do we have? We've got Moon Jupiter conjunction. Look at that. It is the day of the overshare. The day of the overshare. Like, today's one of those days where you have your invisible pause button, right? Pause. Thank you. Let's revisit this later. Look at this, right? We've got the moon, we've got Jupiter, and we've got Neptune screen. Do not fall for people's victim bullshit today, right? And so what you'll hear is you'll hear people just kind of, diarrhea of the mouth. Right. And some of it will sound reasonable. Like, yeah. But then they'll drop in like a victim bomb maybe every 7th or 8th sentence. Right. They won't make it obvious that what they're really attempting to do is paint themselves as a victim. But if you listen long enough, you're like, holy shit, what's really going on here? Like, this person cannot take responsibility for the thing that they've done, and they're creating this like scenario, this big epic scenario, so that they can somehow look somewhat virtuous. But what they're really doing is they're saying, I'm a victim, I got victimized, and it's not my fault. So just listen for that today. Just listen for it, because it's not anything you want to waste your time with, right? Like, there are better things to do than to hear somebody's story and be kind of polite, and then it's like, oh, this is getting toxic. This is getting very toxic. Time out, pause, I'm out of here. Today's a boundary day. Today is a boundary day. I'm not saying that you can't be compassionate or empathic or, what a lot of you do, because a lot of you are sensitive. A lot of you are healers, either professionally or, you're a healer for your family or your friends, right? And so the first thing that we go to is like, oh, well, let me listen and let me hold some space, whatever, right? That said, like, today's one of those days where you exercise the limits. Exercise the limits. Because when you get the moon in Gemini, what do people do? They want to talk. They want to talk about their feelings, just in general. And you got that moon Jupiter conjunction. Oh boy, that's a bit much. Thank you. It's funny that we're talking about polyamory and polypods with the moon Jupiter conjunction. And that's interesting. People are having a real hard time selling their houses. The housing market is really flatlined and tanked. And to me, it's not a mystery because I think I understand what's behind it. But if Trump really wanted to get the economy going, you get the housing market going, you get people buying and selling properties, you get banks back in the business of mortgage lending. Like, this is a big, big, big part of the U.S. economy. And it has flatlined, and in many cases, it has kind of just dropped off the map. And when we get a Moon-Jupiter conjunction and squaring Neptune, if you're in a position where you can buy a property, today is one of those days where if you're really savvy and you have the either the cash on hand or you have the available credit, today is one of those days that you can get an absolutely amazing deal, because there are people with this Moon-Jupiter conjunction and the Neptune square where they are going to be willing to drop the price on their property precipitously because they want to get out. So if you run across somebody who's had a house on the market for, let's say, 5+ months, which is a long time, usually I think most houses sell within 90 days. You get somebody that's like 5-6 months out, they're going to be desperate to sell. Like, it would be not uncommon if let's say you find a place and it's been, we'll use like $400,000. Okay, it's been at $400,000, but you can see through the history, because Zillow or whatever will show you that they started off at, like, say, $479, right? And you can see these incremental drops, and now it's at like $400,000. If you find a place like that under this transit, and you went and said, I'll make you an offer on your house, and here's the offer. The offer is $325,000. There's a good chance they'll take it, right? As long as they're getting something out of their, out of the original investment of their mortgage. Like, today's one of those days where if you're a negotiator and you're kind of sharky, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, and you find a place that you like, and it's, again, on the market 5 months or more, you can get an incredible deal, because it feels to me like people today, specifically today, there are people that are going to want to fold. And I know it's a shitty story because we all theoretically like win-win. We want that. Oh, well, that's a good price and you're getting something out of it. And, jolly gee, we get a win-win here. But today's a day, I'm just going to be straight up. Today's the day, winners and losers, if you're in the real estate market. Now, if you're somebody that's selling and somebody comes to you and gives you like a not a very good offer, that's on you, right? You're going to figure out whether or not that's going to be worthwhile for you to take. Because I don't think the housing market, like, we're going to have Jupiter going into Cancer. Okay. And I think generally a Jupiter Cancer transit winds up being good for the housing market, but not initially, right? As soon as Jupiter moves into Cancer, what's it going to do? It's going to square Neptune, and it's going to start to square Saturn, which is now officially in Aries, right? And that's, we've had the Jupiter Saturn square already. We've had it through Gemini Pisces. Now we get it again through Cancer Aries. And it's like, can we catch a break here with housing? The answer to that is yes, but it's not going to happen until later in the summer, right? When Jupiter catches up with like the US sun and Sirius, which is right around 19 degrees, right around there, 15 degrees, right around there, right there's Sirius. So when Jupiter gets to here, so it's going to be around 4th of July, because by that time, It'll be out of the square with Saturn, out of the square with Neptune. And there is, I think, the possibility of a bit of a resurgence of the housing market at that time. Now, again, that's going to be very dependent upon the interest rates. And the Fed has had no interest in lowering the interest rates. And I'm not even sure Trump wants them to lower the interest rates, because there are real estate transactions happening, but the people that are buying the real estate tend to be like BlackRock or Blackstone or your Vanguard, and they'll buy up large chunks of residential real estate. So, and Trump loves corporations. He loves having, he loves going to McDonald's with Jamie Dimon, right? And so I feel like Trump is actually okay with the housing market not moving, because his buddies who have a shit ton of capital, it works for them, right? It works for them. Now, I do think there's also another side of Trump, of course, it's a Gemini, where he is responsive to his electorate. And, he says, well, people can't afford houses anymore, and we're going to change that. And he'll come up with some big, beautiful plan. And I think that that's probably likely. What that looks like, I don't know. But with Trump, it's usually like an 11th hour thing. When it feels like he's about to lose the room, he'll do something. That's what I've noticed about Trump. And what he does is he'll renew the faith in him as a leader and in the system. So again, just coming back to this Jupiter Moon conjunction squaring Neptune, if you're in the position to buy a property, land, today's your day to come in and fucking lowball somebody. I'm just going to be straight up and honest, because more than likely they will take the offer. I had an interesting experience yesterday. I went into a local store here, small store, like food, liquor, beer, but kind of high end. Like for Kerrville, it's kind of an interesting place, right? Like even the counter, they have like old school candy. You could get really good like ginger beer. It's like kind of a gourmet place, right? It's like this gourmet shop. You get cigars. It's like, man, look at this little place here in Kerrville, at the edge of Kerrville. It's actually in Ingram. And I walk in yesterday, and there's news on the speakers. And it was really odd, because it's not news that you would expect to hear in Kerrville. It was some kind of liberal, it might have been NPR or something like that. And I'm like, wow, this is not something you hear in the Hill Country. And so I look behind the counter, and the guy has long hair, and it's gray, and it's kind of in a ponytail, and he's got glasses on, right? And I'm like, oh, this isn't like an old Austin hippie. He probably went to the folk festival, by the way. And he's listening to NPR in this kind of, gourmet goods store. And you know what he did? After me walking around for about 2 minutes, he turned it off. Because he probably sensed that he probably profiled me and said, oh, I don't know if this guy's going to like what I'm playing. Seriously. Took him about 2 minutes. And I didn't say anything, right? I didn't make any comment or anything. But he was more than willing to self-censor in that moment. It was really interesting. Like, I've never experienced that in the Hill Country. And not only that, but he didn't even have the balls to keep it on. What does that tell you? Like, what does that really tell you about the people that hold to these beliefs? And some of them are okay. Like, there's some liberal ideas that I think, are, like, I think they're the safety net, Medicare. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, particularly because the medical industry is so fucked, right? It's almost like we almost need it now, right? So I think there can be some interesting things with some of those ideas, but just a few. So I'm willing to kind of accept some of them, but not all of them. By and large, the baggage that goes along with it, right? But he didn't even have the cojones to keep it on while it was in there. Very interesting. All right. What else do we have? We've got this. Look at that. Mars and Uranus. Okay, so Mars is now moving into square territory here. We still got that Mars-Venus trine. I mean, they have literally been just dancing together in the sky. Like Mars and Venus been doing this like nice little tango together. And, look, I think that's kind of sexy energy. There's kind of sexy energy in the air. And people are kind of afraid of that, because what you get is you either get like over sexy and you're like, oh, please, no, I don't want to see that. Or you get like kind of more of a prude sort of, thing going on. Right. And I think that there's something, kind of natural and holistic about sexy energy. It's got like, there's a charisma to it. Right. And it's kind of, we have it. It's part of who we are. Right. It's part of our species. And I think that there's a healthy expression of that. And I mean, I did grow up in the 70s. So where those sorts of ideas were much more commonplace, right? But I feel like that's been going on for a while. And it's still going to go on, right? Because they're just dancing together. They're dancing together. So enjoy it. It's a natural thing. When somebody is just naturally in their body and they don't even have to like try to be sexy, right? It's more just of a natural expression of like who they are. And people like that, right? There's a charisma that goes along with it, that they've kind of owned who they are. And that to me is a qualification for being sexy, right? There's an authenticity, and they don't even have to like try it, but there's something about it, right? And we all kind of know it when we see it. And so this Venus Mars trine is one of those things. It's like, yeah, get into it, allow yourself to be authentic, and allow yourself to be, to be seen in a way that is, not covered up by some kind of, I don't know, prudish, I'm not really, you think I'm sexy? Really? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. So I like the energy. To me, it's natural. It's not forced. There's a lot of charisma in this, and has been for a while. And I think, we've kind of needed it, especially coming out of sort of, we're still coming out of the doldrums of 2020, as far as I'm concerned. We got the sun at 7, we got Mercury at 5, and we got that Pluto trine still happening. And that's getting deep into the bottom of things. Did this podcast with Longo on Sunday night. And there are people that are still adding to that podcast over on Twitter, like new facts about fast food and the definition of fast food in French and what that means. And it's like, yeah, here we go. People are building on it, right? You like, it's sort of like you create like a house or something, and then other people come in and they'll put a layer on or a new room. And that's been really interesting to watch. And even the comments on like mostly Longo's channel, because he got way more views. He's got 60,000 people. So you want to see the bulk of the comments, they're over there, and they're literally building on what we did together on Sunday night. And so that's a lot of that energy, right? People are communicating, people are exchanging information at a deep level. I think this is a really interesting time, a very, very interesting time. You know, you grab bits and pieces of information and they can be very, very meaningful to like how you see the world, and how the world, sort of the worldview can change very, very quickly, but not necessarily in a terrible or dramatic way. Let's talk about this Mars Uranus square a little bit. That's going to become more problematic, and that kind of bleeds into war territory, which I'm going to talk about over on 15 Minutes of Flame. And we're going to get into Putin and some of the weird Putin stuff. And it can happen very quickly. Like Saturn has just moved into Aries, and the landscape around war and the battlefield can shift very, very quickly. Like, you know, the ingress at 0 degrees is the most powerful, station of Saturn during this ingress into Aries. It's at 0, right? Now we have Neptune conjuncting, and to me, that's kind of like the fog of war. But keep your eye on this Mars Uranus square. And as Mars moves forward, right, we get up to about 20, 25 degrees, about 25, 23 degrees. So sometime next week, we're really into the thick of that Mars Uranus square. Tempers are very short, very, very short. Mars and Leo is about pride, and everybody's got some kind of pride issue. Like, you know, don't disrespect me, motherfucker. Right. So a lot of disrespect or imagined disrespect is, and what do people do when that happens? They act irrationally with a Mars Uranus square. So we need to track this because we are now in new territory when it comes to aggression and war with Saturn and Aries. Okay. So there we go. All right. Let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. And then we can get on out of here. Let's see. Where are we? Right there. Let me get the banner. There we are. All right. So our True Hemp Science star of the day is the logo, Jerry West. And I had a few choices today. And there are some interesting choices. There's Rudy Giuliani. Today is the mayor's birthday. He's got a weird fucking chart. I think I've done him before. So I didn't really want to do him today. Today's also Michael Orr's birthday. And I considered doing Michael Orr. And you're like, well, who the fuck is Michael Orr? Michael Orr was a football player. And he was written about in a book called The Blind Side, and it's the same author who did Moneyball. And Michael Orr, the reason they call it The Blind Side is because Michael Orr played left tackle, and I think he also wasn't he like blind in one eye too, and left tackle in pro football is called The Blind Side. And Michael Orr was adopted when he was in high school by Michael Lewis is the author, by a white family. And it's a really, and they made that into a movie, and Sandra Bullock plays the mother. And he had an interesting chart that really tapped into this idea of being adopted by his non-nuclear family. Like he has Moon in Aquarius, which is going to be a different kind of mother, right? And he's obviously a Gemini, so Sun, Mercury in the second house, which is very, second house is very primary. And I think I could have made a pretty compelling case for Michael Orr, but I wanted to choose Jerry West today for a particular reason. But True Hemp Science, of course, is the sponsor of this segment. And it is some of the best CBD you can get. And I'm telling you right now, you need to get it because I'm not sure how long you're going to be able to get it. There it is right there, the magic elixir. Spend $100 or more and type in 15MINS and you will get the goodie bag. And I'm assuming that as time goes on, in whatever Chris has in his stocks, that the goodie bags will probably become a bit more generous because at some point, unfortunately, the formula is going to have to change. Sad to say. So, look, you're also doing a business a great service at this point in time because there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to continue this past September. So if he is going to, he and all the other CBD providers in the state of Texas, employing 50,000 people, if he is going to have to change his formula or shut down his operation, and Abbott still needs to do that pen, the least we can do is help him go out with a super bang. Okay? So True Hemp Science, 15MINS, get the goodie bag, you get the free shipping, $150 or more. All right, let's talk about the legend, the logo. And that is the logo of the NBA. And there's been talk that they have wanted to change this and turn this into Michael Jordan. And to me, it would be a blasphemy because Jerry West is the bridge between the old NBA and the new NBA, right? Jerry West is a bona fide superstar, and he could have played in any era of basketball. He grew up in West Virginia, and he had a very kind of intense life living in West Virginia. And, you know, the stories of him shooting, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of baskets are absolutely 100% true, right? Jerry has some issues, right? Like there's things about Jerry West that made him great and also made him very, very difficult to live with. Let's get into it. Okay. So we know he's a Gemini, but he also has this balsamic moon in Taurus, and it's conjunct the South Node. And he's like, what I think about 2 weeks later, there would be a solar eclipse, right? There'd be a solar eclipse. And so this is just like really pre-solar eclipse material. You're seeing this right here. So he's got this balsamic moon in Taurus, so very fixed, right? And you can see down here with Saturn in the 5th house. And, you know, Saturn's the father. And the stories of Jerry West's father are not really all that flattering. You know, he was not a touchy-feely dad. And I think he supported Jerry in playing basketball. And he kind of drove him. Right. And to the point of like perfection. And so for Jerry West, with Saturn in the 5th house, sports are not fun. They are not fun. Like that's supposed to be the pastime, right? They are not fun. For Jerry West, sports is a form of perfection that he is striving towards because that's what his father had instilled in him, right? Like that's what his father had instilled with him. And it's kind of what made Jerry great too, in a lot of ways, because you cannot be great without some degree of sacrifice. And I can tell you right now, Jerry West did not have a fun childhood. His childhood was work, whether it was, you know, hanging out in the West Virginia, you know, kind of coal mine world, or just working at basketball. It was not fun, right? So he is extremely talented, though, and he has Mars in Gemini, and Mars in Gemini is very restless. It's a very restless expression of Mars, And he has this Mars-Jupiter trine, and Jupiter's right at the beginning of Pisces, and Mars is at 27. So it's right 23. So it's right on sort of the edge of that trine, but it's still a trine. And so Jupiter is amplifying his competitive spirit, which is Mars. And Jerry West had an insanely competitive spirit. It's amplifying his ability to like perform. Okay. But he, again, with Mars in the 8th house, he's also really, really driven, like extremely driven. And then here we have Cancer at 0, Chiron at 0 Cancer. And we have also Venus. What is that? It's at 8 Cancer, and that's squaring Saturn. The Venus-Saturn square, it is something that really torpedoes Jerry West. So after Jerry West would lose a game, he was married at this time. They're living in Los Angeles. After he would lose a game, he was so distraught and inconsolate that he would drop his wife off at the house and drive around for hours and not come back until he had worked off the loss. And if you're the Lakers, right, even if you're great, you're going to lose maybe 25 games a year. I guarantee you there were 25 days over that season that his wife had to deal with Jerry West's insane depression about losing. And ultimately, it ended the marriage. She just couldn't live with it. Right. And Venus in the 8th house is all about the secrets, right? It's about the secrets of relationship, the secrets of partnership. There are things that go on with a Venus 8th house placement that other people just don't know and they don't see. But it came out like Jerry was miserable. He was really hard to be around when it came to like not living up to his own greatness or winning. And he has that Mars-Neptune square as well. And it also feels like that's driving him, and I don't think Jerry West would suffer from imposter syndrome, but it feels to me like there's something at a very deep level that Jerry West felt like he had to prove. And this idea of being perfect, I think, is, probably one of them. One of the things that Jerry West, I think, was actually, he was a great player. I think he certainly had some demons, right? He had some demons, but one of the things that Jerry West was really, really good at was being a general manager. Jerry West could build franchises. He built the Showtime Lakers, and he's got this Mercury-Uranus conjunction. And he has it enshrined with Neptune. So there's something about West where he's kind of ahead of the curve, right? He can see sort of trends before they're coming. And wherever he went in terms of his post-NBA career as a player, he struck gold. Like, he was sort of this advisor to the Golden State Warriors after Joe Lacob bought the team. And Jerry West helped build the Warriors. And a lot of people don't really understand that. Like, he's the guy that said, you got to draft Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was a good player in college, but he didn't scream like star, right? So you got to draft Klay Thompson. I'm telling you right now, this guy is great. And then the owner of the Warriors, who's just a fucking putz, Joe Lacob, he wanted to trade Klay Thompson. He wanted to trade Klay Thompson to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kevin Love. And what did Jerry West do? He came in and said, no, don't do it. Like he was adamant. You know what? Jerry was right. So Jerry had a great sense as to how to build something. And Taurus is the sign of the builder. And you can see this right here. He's also a Scorpio rising. That's going to add to that intensity that he lived with. And where's it going to come out? It's going to come out over here in that South Node, 7th house, marriage, partnership. Like that's his literally talking about Michael Orr. That was his blind side. He was so fixated on kind of mastering his external environment, with that kind of scorpionic obsession for detail or perfection, that when it didn't work, he suffered over in this part of his chart. I think eventually he got remarried and everything kind of worked out. And I would say Jerry mellowed with age. He was always a very intense guy. But there's one thing about Jerry West that sticks out to me. And I read this about him a long time ago. And it gets back into a discussion we had yesterday about being in the moment. And he was one of the first, I've got another Jerry West story too before he lived. He was one of the first athletes that I had ever heard talking about being in the moment. This is a long time ago. This is before it was like in vogue, right? And he said, if you're in the moment, then you know exactly what you need to do, because there's going to be another moment after that and after that and after that. And if you stay in those moments, right, it's a chapter of being in, like a series of chapters of being in the moment. And he understood it. He got it. Jerry really got that. And it's like, that was one of the first things that I gleaned from sports psychology. It was through Jerry West. Real quick, I got a Jerry West story, and then we're going to sign off. We're going a little late today. So when I was young, I was, an avid sports fan. And for some reason, I was really into these Detroit teams. I think it started with Denny McClain. And I became a fan of the Detroit Pistons. And there was a guy that played for the Detroit Pistons named Dave Bing. And I really liked Dave Bing. I don't even ask me why, but I liked Dave Bing. I liked his story. And he was a good player. And one day I'm looking at the stats in the Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle, and the NBA scoring leaders. And Dave Bing was around number 3 or 4, and Jerry West was right behind him. And I did not want Jerry West to pass Dave Bing in scoring. And I said, I think Jerry West should break his leg or something like that, so he doesn't pass Dave Bing. I shit you not. The next day, Jerry West has a knee injury, and he is sidelined for the rest of the season. And I'm like, did I do that? Was I responsible for that? I don't know. Jerry, if you listen to me in the spirit world, I apologize if I did that. Maybe you can forgive me. All right. Thanks for being here. Come join us over on 15 minutes. We're going to get into what's going on with Russia and Putin. We'll start there. We may not end there, but we're going to start there, and I'll give you the updates as they are happening in real time. All right. Take care of yourself. Treat each other well. God bless you. Love you all. Robert Phoenix signing off. Bye for now.